Perfect. I'm tracking my time. I use an app to track my time and everything that I do, and I'm counting this as marketing time. So there you go.
Mhm.
um, let's see. In general, you know, things have definitely been slower for us during COVID. Having said that, it's also given me a lot of good chances to try and rethink some things. I've spent a tons of time on marketing, all kinds of marketing, social media marketing, influencer marketing, email marketing, um, and not just me. We have other people doing those things, but I had to kind of figure things out and get it going, and then of course. Google ads and Facebook ads were a large part of what we've been doing too. And I can kind of update you on where all that is. But, when COVID happened, we, um, we weren't sure what would happen because we thought, hey, great, everybody's at home, everyone's homeschooling their kids. This is the perfect opportunity. And yet at the same time, everyone was also hit pretty hard economically. And our product is priced at a premium. Um,
Mhm.
it's not a cheap product. So uh, as we went forward, I mean, we jumped on the Google ads and did things thinking that everybody's going to be looking for stuff to homeschool. And this product is it's not our only target market, but it's a target market that has worked well for us so far as we've tried to think about what customers to get. And it we did some Google ads. We tried to target homeschoolers and things, but it didn't really ever take off. Plus, I don't know about you, my wife did homeschooling for the last 3 months of the last school year, and a lot of companies offered a lot of free resources, which is wonderful unless you have a
Hard to
business
compete
that's
with.
trying to get people to buy stuff, right? So I think ultimately the trend of people having less money, plus the fact that we're still, we're still growing, and a lot of people don't know about us, of course, still. I think that has resulted in things being a little slower. And then the other major thing, last year, one of the primary ways that we sold was through these homeschool conventions. And that, there again, it's not like we're meant to only sell to homeschoolers. That was never the plan, but the product is well suited to that. And our product fit that need really well. And we went to these conventions in 2019 and they went really well. So, and now we know which ones matter and which ones don't. And I had this good plan together. I had my brother who has sales expertise. He's going to do it with me. And then COVID, and it just shut that down entirely. I am happy to say that because of some other efforts we've made, so far our sales are mostly keeping on track, even though we haven't done the conventions, which is actually saying quite a bit. Because we haven't been to a single convention except one right at the beginning, but they shut it down even before it ended because of COVID. So yeah, we didn't do conventions, and because of that, that's what made me think, hey, we've got to look a lot more closely at Google ads, Facebook ads. We need to beef up our social marketing again, or social media marketing. We had somebody doing it before, and they had a baby, so we had to find somebody new. We even hired an agency for a while. Email marketing, I spent a lot of time researching tools, figuring out how to have little pop-ups on our website to help with conversion, send automatic emails to people to get discounts, all the stuff that someone in the e-commerce world would have known about, but that I sort of learned by doing a lot of research and had to go find the tools and got it all figured out. And of course I have a general understanding of marketing with my experience and my degree, but it was now, as of even this month, we're still kind of figuring out the best ways to get all that stuff going on our website. So none of that is driving like significant change. Like we're keeping pace, but this business we are hoping to scale much, much higher than what it did last year. And so far it's really just kind of keeping about what it did last year. So we're hoping that these efforts that we're making in all these different ways will make a difference. But so far, nothing has, it hasn't turned the corner. If it stays the size that it is now, it's not something that can be sustainable for actually providing for a family. It's been fun. We've learned a lot. That's kind of where it's at. We did 100,000 in sales last year. which is great. I'm very proud of that. But, you know, that's not enough to pay yourselves out of profit. And we made a profit last year, which I think is pretty cool.
That's awesome. So, how do you, let's say that you and I bump into each other on an elevator. That's always, I don't know why they always use an elevator. But we bump into each other somewhere and I say, hey, what are you doing right now? What's your company? What's your simplest pitch in terms of describing what your company does?
Yeah, well, people do ask me that. And I say, well, we sell children's books with a talking pen. And you point the pen at the page and it reads the text, characters talk, makes sounds, plays music. That's usually the very shortened version. If I talk a little longer, I'll talk about STEM and, you know, a bit more than that, but that's the super fast version.
Okay. I would like to take you through a framework that has been really, really beneficial for me. And I would say that would help you, I think, more effectively communicate your value.
Sure.
I got this from what's his name? Dan Henry. A guy named Dan Henry has a thing that he calls the refined marketing statement. And effectively what it is first of all, we want to identify who is your customer, not necessarily who your most frequent customer is or your highest volume customers right now. Who's your ideal customer? And the reason I'm making that differentiation is sometimes a company might have 100 customers and 90 of them drive them up the wall, but there's 10 of them that they're like, oh, if we had 1 million like these, we would just be so thrilled. Who's your ideal customer?
Probably, I mean, we think our best customer is a mom with kids between ages 3 and 7 who wants to invest in their education. That's probably our ideal customer. You know, and that's why homeschoolers have been good, but really any mom, even just wealthy moms. So moms with kids around ages 3 to 7. Our actual age range is 2 to 10, but 3 to 7 is more of the sweet spot within that, who, you know, are willing to spend money to get products to help their children develop and be educated.
Okay. So if she has kids 3 through 7, how old is she roughly?
She's about, I mean, if you look at our Facebook ads, our best customers are women ages like 25 to 44. But I mean, within that, it would probably be, I don't know, 30 to 40 probably. No, it'd be earlier than that. 25 to 35 probably.
Okay. So I'm going to say she's 32, which means she was born in 1988. Top baby names in 88. The top girls' names in 1988 were Jessica, Ashley, Amanda, Sarah. So let's pick one of those and say your ideal customer. She's 32 years old. Her name is, which one of those do you like? Jessica, Ashley, Amanda, or Sarah?
Let's go Amanda.
Okay. So your customer's name is Amanda. She's 32. She's got a couple of kids from 3 to 7. She cares about education, and she's not necessarily wealthy, but she's affluent enough to afford your products, right?
Yep.
So we'll say she's a young mom, right? What outcome is she looking for? Like, what is she hiring your product to do?
Clayton Christensen. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Clayton Christensen. I would say, I would hope in general she would hire our products to help her children reach their potential. That's probably too lofty. In more practical terms, I think they hire us to be something for their kids to do that isn't watching a screen or watching TV, something for their kids to do that's better than just having them play games or watch movies.
Yeah.
And in particular, something if they're busy cooking or busy with the older kids, something that their kids can do, but that has educational, that's valuable, not just entertainment.
I think this fits really interestingly in the middle of the pandemic right now, because I think people are kind of torn between, do I let my kids have screen time, which is entertaining but not remotely educational,
Right.
or do they have to get on a Zoom call with their first grader classmates and have to learn something, but it's not interesting or entertaining. And your product sits right in between those, where it's not a screen, but it's educational and it's interesting.
Right, and it's the pen makes it engaging, makes it fun. Yep. We do play up the screen time thing.
So I'm going to take a crack at this, and please correct me or please help me refine it. They want to help their kids reach their full potential. They want to help their children balance education and entertainment.
Yeah, balance education and entertainment. Yeah, you could probably say that. Well, I'm just trying to decide: are they balancing it, or are they just wanting the kids to do something that's educational rather than entertainment? Although then they can just give them any old book. Our book is more engaging and entertaining than a normal book.
They're trying to blend education and entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think. I mean, I don't know the answer. Who does, right? But I'm not 100% sure. Are people who get our product, are they wanting to blend education and entertainment? Are they just wanting the education? You're probably right. They want to blend the education and entertainment, or at least have education that's fun.
Yeah, maybe entertainment's probably not the right word, but fascination, curiosity, interest. They're not necessarily trying to entertain their kids, but they want education that's also interesting.
Yeah, that might be interesting or engaging or innovative. I mean, that's another thing we really try to market ourselves as, is these books help children learn to think like an innovator. We empower little innovators. That's right on our website. Because the books are built around the concept that you have a book about balloons. One of our books is Discover the Wonders of Balloons, and you get into it and you learn about how balloons blow up and how they work and what air is and what breathing is and whether animals breathe. And you're learning about balloons, but you're learning about a lot of subjects across a bunch of different disciplines, all related to one topic.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm sorry, I need to cough here.
No, you're good.
It's not
That's
COVID.
Funny. That's what I do. Yeah. I won't get it through the computer, right?
I picked up a head cold 2 weeks ago from my son, and it's gone through the house, and I still have this lingering tickly cough in the back of my throat.
Yeah, not a good time for a cold. Right at the beginning of this, when I had that one convention, it was the day before Trump declared this a national emergency, and I had a cough, and I knew it wasn't COVID, but I went to this convention and I had a cough, and I had water. I mean, I drank so much water that day because I didn't want to cough on anybody, because that would be deathly, right as COVID was coming, the hype about it and worry about it was getting crazy. So yeah, I feel for you.
Yeah, right at the beginning of this, one of my friends was at a grocery store and he sneezed. And he said he could just feel all eyes turned to him, and it was like on Monsters Inc. when they were 2319, everybody pounds on him and shaves all the fur off. And
Yep.
right. All right, so I'm going to take a crack at this refined marketing statement.
Okay.
I'm going to fill in a little bit of the final part of it, just based on what I know about your product. But what we'll want to do is just keep iterating on it until we have it real smooth.
Sure.
So we help young mothers with children to bring their children to their full potential, blending education and engagement without screen time and boredom, by or through or with a talking pen and book product combination.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary.
So what I would like to do is continue to iterate on this sentence. If we can make one sentence that sums up in 3 or 4 lines exactly what it is, that who your customer is, what outcome you're helping them to achieve, what pain points you're helping them to avoid, and then we summarize real quickly what your offering is.
Okay.
Do you want to take a crack at that? First of all, we help,
Sure.
and then customer.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think we hit on some of it in the statement we're getting to here. So we help parents. You know, I would say moms, but I'll say parents because it's mom and dad. We help parents with young children to help their children reach their potential and do something engaging and fun while avoiding, like you said, while avoiding screen time and boredom. I think those are definitely 2 of the pain points. So other big pain points. I mean, the pain points differ a bit based on which exact customers we're talking about, but in general, that's true. By offering them talking pen and book product, or however we word the last part. I'm just thinking about pain points now because it definitely helps with not having screen time, having something engaging, not just static and boring. Let's see. It's a great, like a little tutor or a teacher when mom's busy making food or whatever. I mean, we can't cram all our pain points into one sentence. So I'm sure there's others. Like homeschoolers love that it has it's like little pre-built lesson plans that they can use right off the shelf while they're busy with the other kids, stuff like that.
Yeah, and what we can do is develop a different refined marketing statement for your different customers. So this one is Amanda, and she's got a couple of kids from 3 to 7.
Yeah.
And,
okay. That's fair.
And we might say we help parents of young children who care about education lift their children to their full potential without boredom or screen time by blending education and fun in a digital pen and smart book product or something.
Yeah, sure.
And then we might have Jessica as a different persona, and she is a homeschooling parent, and she has different pain points or different outcomes that she's seeking.
Sure. Or a school teacher would be another one, or a grandparent would be another one. But yeah.
So I recommend walking through the same process for 2 or 3, maybe 4 of these different personas, and writing down a refined marketing statement for each one of these, making it as pithy as you possibly can. And that is tremendously valuable when someone lands on your website and they see this, we help, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
So often I get to websites and I'm like, well, it's a really cool looking webpage, but I still can't exactly tell
what they do,
what they're selling, or
why
I should care about this.
I hear you on that. And it's funny you say that because our website, our top of it says, what will your child discover? Empowering. It says we sell these, what does it say? 12 talking STEM books and recordable stickers empowering little innovators. So luckily it gets at some of that, because, when I was consulting, it drove me crazy when you go to any website and all it says is, we empower and love you and you're the best and we do everything and we're awesome, and you have no idea what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Oftentimes it's way more helpful to Google the name of the company and read the little snippet that Google found, because that generally sums up pretty well, better than the
or go to
website.
Wikipedia. Yeah, I mean, I used to do that all the time. You could go to a ag chemical producer, and they won't say we sell pesticides. They say we help farmers help the world, and all this lofty stuff.
Which is great. Like, it gets at the vision of what they're hoping to accomplish, but it still doesn't tell you exactly what you can get from them.
Right.
So it's good to have all of these. It's great to say, like, we help parents with young children, or we help parents with children. We help children reach their full potential, or something like that. But if you don't then finish that by offering, this product or this solution, you leave people hanging. You just gave them the appetizer, but you didn't give them the full meal.
Yep, I totally agree. Are you, I'm just pulling up my notes here. Are you writing this down, or should I write down this?
I'm jotting some notes down. Yep, and it's recorded. You can go back and
okay, perfect.
And clean it up later on. So at the end of the day, the way I see it is, a business, there's like three elements to a business. There's who you're serving, there's the outcome they're seeking, and then there's the pathway to get that outcome, right?
Yep.
And most small businesses, most entrepreneurs get, like, especially beginner entrepreneurs, I think, get really hung up on this product or the solution, and they don't spend as much time on who the customer is and what outcome they're seeking. How many times have you heard, like, hey, I had this really cool business idea, or I had a really cool product idea? Well, that's great. Who's the customer you're serving, and what outcome are they seeking? Well,
and will they pay for it?
You have a great idea for a widget that's neat, but who wants it and why do they care?
Yep, totally.
And
how much will they pay for it, and can you give it to them profitably at that amount?
Yeah, that's then what? It's so first of all, if you understand who the customer is and what outcome they really want and are willing to pay for, the how could be a million things, right? Like, you could help parents lift their kids to their full potential by a series of videos that you've made, or by showing up at their house and teaching them personally one-on-one, or by writing textbooks, or there's a million pathways there. At the end of the day, you have a hypothesis that your path is the most effective way to achieve that outcome than other paths. Right. So we need to figure out how to communicate that to people. So far, let's disconnect from that part of the conversation for a second. When it comes to actually going out and getting sales, the marketing mathematical formula at the end of the day is, we have a certain number of customers, and they have a certain value to us, and that equals our revenue, right? And then beyond that, you've got your costs, which results in your profit. But really, the two levers are number of customers and value per customer. And there's two ways to grow your number of customers, which is, let's say you want to double revenue, right? You could double the number of people who come to your website, or you could double the percentage of people who are already coming to your website who are converting.
Right.
Or some combination.
Or that increase the average order value of each customer, or.
Right. So that's the value. Over here, there's number of customers.
Oh,
Over here, there's customer value, and that could be purchase frequency. That could be average order value.
I gotcha.
And if you want to double revenue, you can either double the number of people coming to your website, you can double your conversion rate, you can double your average order value, or you can double your purchase frequency.
Sure.
Ideally, you want to double a few of those.
Right. And you don't have to pay for so much marketing to get people into the top of the funnel.
Right. I'll say that the easiest one, not necessarily the easiest, the most impactful one is conversion rate. And here's why. If you can, let's say you have 1,000 people coming to your website and 10 of them end up buying, that's a 10% conversion, right? If you can, I'm just working with very simple numbers, not that it's easy to convert from 10% conversion rate to 20%, but let's say that you could double that conversion rate. Well, you doubled your revenue, right? And you didn't double your costs, so your profits went up. And now you have extra money that you can pour into getting more traffic, which again flows through to double your revenue again. So now you've quadrupled your revenue, but you didn't quadruple your costs. And so your profit is multiplied again. And now you can reinvest that into more traffic or continuing to improve your conversion rate or, focusing on average order values or other things. But if you can improve that conversion rate, that one has a multiplier effect that lets you then reinvest in other areas, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, makes sense. And we've been doing a bunch of stuff to try to do that. Our conversion rate so far this year has been low for sure. So we're hoping to like, for example, the pop-ups on our website actually have helped a lot. And we're doing more with abandoned cart messaging and our Facebook ads and retargeting and all that stuff. But there's still more we need to do, because I think that is one of our issues right now is our conversion.
Okay. I'm looking at the website right now.
So what do you see?
What's that?
So have you seen a pop-up yet?
Not yet. But
anything in the bottom right corner?
It's still actually loading because we're on this video call, so that
gotcha.
It's gonna take a second.
Actually, I've been focusing a lot on conversion in like the last 3 weeks, and so I have this new tool that I'm using where people that come and abandon their cart, now I've got a sequence of emails they get. Plus, there's a little pop-up I have too that gives them a discount or gives them additional messaging, answers their questions, tells them reasons why they should buy. And then I've got, right now, I'm doing for anybody that comes to the site. Once they try to leave, there's a pop-up that comes up, which hopefully you'll see. And it gives them a chance to get a discount. It's pretty aggressive on the discounting, but it's sort of my way of offering everyone a lower price without lowering prices.
Yeah. Okay.
And if they accept it and put their email in, then there's a welcome sequence that they get, and it reminds them about their discount. All of this, though, we didn't have like 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
It's been an obsession.
At first glance, can I make a couple recommendations?
Sure.
So people tend to fall in one of two categories, and it depends on what they're shopping for and all that, but people tend to either be browsers or searchers.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever like sat next to your spouse while they do some online shopping, and maybe you and your spouse are the same type of shopper, but my wife and I are not. Like, okay. I will go through all the filters. I'll navigate to the category and then the subcategory and then the subcategory, and then I'll use all the filters and sort it by what I want. So I know that I'm exactly in the right place with exactly the right type of product. And my wife will just do a search and just scroll through until she sees what she wants.
Right.
And it drives me up the wall sometimes because I'm like, well, let's get rid of all these other things that aren't relevant or whatever. And the way that I shop drives her crazy because I don't know, she hates it.
Nice.
You might consider a way to make your search field a little more visible.
Okay.
Hey, there we go. I just gotta spin the wheel. Try your luck.
That's it.
I like it.
So other than that little magnifying glass,
Yeah, so the magnifying glass obviously means search. I'm not sure how prominent it stays on mobile. It may,
it's about the same. It's a little thing in the top right.
okay. What happens to your menu? Does it become a hamburger menu or does it
Yeah.
all stay there?
I'm sure you're looking, but that's it. So the whole menu becomes a hamburger, and then there next to the hamburger, there's a cart, there's a account thing for people to have a subscription. Yeah, you got it. Yep.
Okay. So that's pretty good. It might be beneficial to explore some other header navigation designs. I know some websites will have like the main strip, but then they'll have another little strip above that with social media icons or some of the less critical navigation like contact us or FAQs or things like that, that like if you're looking for them, you can find them, but that's not necessarily what we want to highlight.
Yep. Actually, I have a question on that because for a while we had that. I mean, you remember talking to us. We had like 19 things across the top of our website.
Yeah.
So now we've changed that. And I once I started doing a little research, I realized everybody puts all that stuff in the footer now. A lot of people don't put it in the header at all. It's just all in the footer, which I did. But right now, though, still on our website, there's a little more drop-down box with a lot of that stuff that I've wondered if I should just get rid of. I don't know yet. So my solution so far has been to put a lot of it in one little drop-down that says more.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, like, there's no one right answer that you're going to get conclusive. Hey, we did the right thing, and there's nothing more optimized than this.
Right.
It'd be great if the world were that black and white, but I would just keep experimenting and exploring and testing different concepts there.
Okay.
The human brain, the way that, well, first of all, different people think differently, like I said a minute ago with searching and browsing.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some things that people tend to have fairly in common. You get a lot of people that are emotional decision makers, and I would say most people are emotional decision makers in terms of they'll decide emotionally first whether they want something. And then if they decide emotionally that they want it, then they'll look for logical reasons to back up what they want to do that support what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
Like I saw this Apple Watch and it looks really awesome and I really want one. And so now you're looking for, well, I think it would help me sleep better and I think I would exercise more and I would not be late for meetings anymore. So that would be, now I can logically justify it to myself or my spouse or whatever that it's a good investment.
I've definitely done that.
So think about that when you are on your web pages, when you're sending emails to people, when you're posting to social media. I would try to lead with emotion, lead with smiling, happy faces. Kids using your product and they're exactly how their parents wish they were all the time, just happy and smart and awesome. And then back that up. The next thing down the page should be some of the logical, this many happy customers, as seen on these popular websites, as featured on this news site or whatever. And that's where you can try to layer in some of, customer reviews, some of the logical stuff that's like, okay, I decided emotionally that this looks really cool. Now can I justify that is can we show evidence that will justify that your kid will be smarter and happier and more engaged in their education and stuff. And then,
I'm taking notes, by the way, on what you're saying. If it looks like I'm
yeah, no, that's fine. And then I would say the third thing after that is FOMO, where you're highlighting any urgency or scarcity that are inherent in your product. If you have limited availability of certain things, or you have a sale that's ending on a certain day, or anything like that, because someone might decide emotionally that they want it, and now they've looked and they can justify it logically, but they have no reason to take action today. They're going to just say, well, I'll think about it, and they'll forget and never show up to the website again or whatever. But if you can show, hey, this sale ends Friday night at 10 p.m. or whatever, okay, I better make a decision now and take action on it.
Got it. What is FOMO? I mean, I get that it's urgency.
Fear of missing out.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And actually, on that note, one change I made recently. So I have all these. So that wheel that you saw, if you spun that and put your email in, you get a discount code. And for a while, that was it. And then I realized, again, in the last 3 weeks, I should make those expire. Otherwise, people will just think, oh, I'll use it 6 months from now. So now it's changed to where those only last 7 days. And they may or may not realize they can go back and spin it again and get another one. I don't really care. But that will also expire in 7 days.
Yeah. Cool. So you guys have been running Facebook ads, haven't you?
Not yet. So
okay.
This is where we would have loved to have Orion working for us. I know you don't, but we did Google ads, and that was back in April. We got on that right away as soon as COVID happened, and this would be interesting to get your. I have a number of questions I could ask you about Facebook ads, actually, and then I know you know that space well. But just the real quick context: we did Google ads. We used an agency. Part of that was I ran my own Google ads earlier in the year. I did a bunch of research, and I think they were okay, but they weren't resulting in enough return that I could scale them. So I wanted to hire an agency and see what they would do, to be honest. And I made sure to find one that would build them on our account. So I still have everything they built if I want to use it again, professionally built ads. So we did it, and we had some return, but it was less than break-even return. We spent more than the return, and we were paying the agency. So we stopped that only after like a month, because I did more research as we were doing them, and I realized I think our products would be better suited to Facebook ads the more I read, because so I originally started with Google ads because last year on Black Friday we did both. You helped us with the Facebook ads, I ran some of our Google ads, and we got way higher return on the Google ads. We had like 11x return on the Google ads and like 3 on Facebook. But it was way small. It was very small amounts of data. It was only like a couple $100 of Google ads and less than 500, I think, of Facebook ads. So anyway, that is what led me to do Google, because people search Google with the intent to buy. However, what I think we learned was to sell on Google, you have to have something that people know, that they understand, and they're just ready to buy it. They see your ad and they buy it. And that's not our product. I learned that people would look, we'd target things like STEM toys and way to record a book for my kids and all this stuff. But, people weren't necessarily looking for exactly what we had. So I thought, and I read this article that said, if you have a new product, Facebook might be better. You got to kind of introduce it. You can show videos. So Facebook ads are more visual. Plus, I also didn't know that Google doesn't really have that great targeting capability. Facebook, of course, that's the gold standard on targeting capability. So for those reasons, we went to Facebook. We were using the same agency. We've been going back and forth on getting the ads ready for like forever. And as of this week, they're supposed to be sending me the very final copies of the ads, and we're going to launch them. So we have, long story short, we haven't yet run them, actually. We're going to spend $1,000 a month, and we're about to do it. If you want to look at them, I would love it. It's funny because I'm a little hesitant about it. Like we're under a contract and we're going to do it and it'll be fine. But I was fighting them a little bit on how we're doing the ads. And I finally just said, let's do it the way you're recommending. You guys are the experts. So my question for you is, I came to Facebook because I really want to target the right people. I only want to show my ads to moms with kids. Like, why would I even show my ad to someone without kids, for example? I know they won't buy, like 100% they won't buy. And anyway, so we were talking and they just kept coming back with, what I read in articles that agencies will do. They were like, no, we want to start it targeting everybody and let the pixel learn and then eventually like hone in on the right people. And I went back and said, why would I pay to have why would I fund that learning when I already know, where it's going to get to? So anyway, we've gone back and forth, and unfortunately, like, they kind of put up a huge fuss, and we're going to start running it on everybody, men, women, like no targeting, which is insane to me. And then later they're going to hone it down after it learns, but they're going to wait, like, we're going to spend like several $1,000s while we're waiting. And
are you paying them a flat fee, or is it a percent of ad spend, or what?
It's a flat fee. It's $700 a month for them, and then it's $1,000 of ad spend. So it's in terms of the percentage of our ad spend, it's pretty high. But if we were to go all the way to 5,000 in ad spend, it would stay $700. But that's like their minimum. It's $600. $600 is the management fee. $1,000 ad spend. So this is going to spend us. We're going to be putting $1,600 a month into this. And, I didn't have the know-how to really kind of present my case back to her, but I had a hard time accepting this whole, I just told her over and over, why wouldn't we only show our ads to women with kids? And even beyond that. And her thing was, apparently, if you do that, where our website doesn't have a lot of traffic, which it's still early, our traffic's around 1,000 a month. And she said, really, you need to have 3,000 or more a month to even have enough traffic. Otherwise, Facebook will just stop serving your ads. The algorithm will work against you. There was this big whole thing she went through. But anyway, you can obviously tell what my feelings on it. But at this point, she kind of said, well, even if you show it to more people, and then even though a lower percentage of them convert, you're still getting more conversions overall than if you show it to a smaller set of people, but you're not showing it to as many. That was kind of her argument. But I just kept wondering, why is there a limit to how many moms with kids are on Facebook? There's a bazillion of those. Why would you be limited there?
Yeah, I don't.
Does that make any sense?
I don't think I agree with that approach, because you've got customer lists you can upload, and you've had the pixel on your website for quite a while.
Yep, I gave them both of those. I gave them customer lists.
And on an ongoing basis, you may not have the volume level that Facebook's algorithm, ideally would prefer to have. But as you start spending money on ads, that data will come in pretty quickly. And Facebook's ad algorithm is really only going to use roughly the last 7 days of performance data anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, what their algorithm wants is 25 to 50 conversions in the trailing 7-day period. And the more the better. Like, the more volume you have, the more data.
Oh, we definitely don't have that right now.
What's that? You don't have that? Yeah.
No.
But once you start spending money on ads, hopefully you should be able to get 25 sales in a trailing 7-day period if you've got $1,000. What's that?
Hopefully. I mean, our lowest priced product is like $100. Well, yeah. That's not true. You can buy one book, but most people will buy the pen in a book, which is $100.
Yeah. So my preference is to start with a warm audience, or a hot audience, depending on if you have a product that people will buy frequently, right? You could go retarget people who've already spent money with you before,
right,
and offer them upsells and cross sells and other things that they could that they can spend money on. And that's a great group if they're satisfied. That's a great group to go back to, and they've converted once, so they have a very high likelihood, more than anyone else, of buying a second time. And then I would look at the warm audience, people who have engaged on Facebook, engaged on Instagram, visited your website, but they haven't bought from you. And that's the next group that I would go to for low-hanging fruit, to try to get some sales. And beyond that, it's going to be a cold audience, and you're going to use your existing customer lists to say, we want to find more people like these.
Yep.
And the way that I like to do it is with the hot audience. I call it the hot audience if they've paid you any money in the past. I try not to restrict that one too much, because if they've bought. I don't care if they're 75 or they're 18 or it's a man living in Nova Scotia, whatever. He's paid money before, so I definitely want to get my ads in front of him.
Right.
With the cold ads, though, because I want an ROI, I'm going to restrict the cold ads to what I know has the highest likelihood to convert, right? So I'm going to say
that's interesting.
It's women with children in this age range, in this geography,
who are interested in education. I mean, you'd get super detailed, right?
I'd get as detailed as I could until I get it down to, about the right size of audience, because that's, if I already know some of the attributes of someone who is going to buy from me, I don't want to waste money on everybody else. And
right. And that's what
audience, by definition, is a few million people.
Yeah, that's what I kept saying, and she just kind of kept coming back with this standard. This is how we do it, and I get that that's how Facebook wants me to do it, but I don't care.
Right. It benefits Facebook.
Good for them, but right, I don't care how long I don't want the pixel to learn what I already know,
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting. She looked at our purchases, and she looked at our Google, I'm blanking on the name, the Google website data. And she said that in the last year, our purchasers have been 70% women and 30% men, which actually surprised me. And that was one of her points, to say maybe there's others that would buy that you don't think so or whatever. But
sure.
I mean, they are using like our customer lists and all that for the retargeting and all that. But the cold audience that they're using, I'm pretty sure, I think they're using a lookalike or in some way for that. But I think it's just anybody, like no targeting at all. And it's still bothering me if you can't tell.
So the lookalike should be somewhat restricted, even though it doesn't look restricted. The lookalike will know that 70% of your buyers are women. So about 70% of the people who are shown your ads through the lookalike will be women. Like it's going to fairly match up well with your customer profile. So
even the cold audience, you think?
Even the cold audience, which is a lookalike. Lookalike is, I consider them a cold audience. And so Facebook knows that most of those are going to be women. Most of them are going to have a similar age profile. Most of them are going to have similar interest profiles to your customers. But at the same time, if you're a tiny startup and you're trying to make sure you're getting the most value out of every dollar you can,
right?
I lean toward, like, you've got a lemonade stand, which has a very high profit margin and very low scale, right? And you've got Walmart, which has a very low profit margin but very high scale.
Right.
And if you're a startup, I lean toward the lemonade stand. Like, let's make sure we're getting good business metrics out of this. Let's make sure that it's profitable. And then we can try to scale it up towards the Walmart end of the spectrum, right? Where we give up a little bit of margin to get the extra scale. But if you start over here at the Walmart end, there's nowhere to go. Like, you can't advertise to the world and make a penny on every transaction and think you're going to have a sustainable business a year from now.
Right.
You've got to grow your way there.
And I'm not explaining her argument well, because honestly, even though she said it to me like 4 times, I just still didn't really understand what she was saying. But so using your analogy, her argument to that was, if you start with the lemonade stand approach, you just won't spend enough in ad dollars, and Facebook will stop serving your ads. Like, you just don't have enough data, enough
And you
traffic.
fail before you get started.
That's kind of what she kept saying, and I don't know. I just kept I actually told her, I don't, then spend less every month. Let's just, why would I spend anyway? I mean, is there truth to that? She said apparently Facebook's algorithm will like do crazy things if we just don't have enough data.
Yeah, I can see why she might be saying that. The rule of thumb, Facebook's recommendation is take your cost per conversion that you're comfortable with, multiply that by 3 or 5x, and that should be the minimum of your daily ad spend, right?
Okay.
And if you multiply that by 7, then that should get you 3 to 5 conversions per day times 7. You're gonna have 35-ish conversions per week, and that starts to get enough information that Facebook's algorithm can make some sense of that. If you spend $100 a day, you're going to get that data sooner. You'll also burn through it a little faster at the beginning while you're learning, while the algorithm is learning, but you'll get some of those insights sooner. But I definitely wouldn't go below that ad spend per day. Right.
Yeah. So we're doing 1,000 a month, which is like, what is that? Like 30 a day. And I have no idea what our cost per conversion is.
What cost per conversion are you comfortable with?
Okay. So cost per conversion is, how much does it cost me to get someone to buy?
Yeah.
I mean, I could look at our data from last year and see how much is that just total marketing spend divided by number of people that bought or something like that?
Yeah.
How would you come up with that?
Yeah. You'll need to factor in cost of goods on your own separately, but if you know that, if it costs me $10 to get someone to buy, that's profitable. If it costs me $20 to get someone to buy, I can't make that work.
I got you. Well, and it depends on what they're buying, right? But I mean, for us.
But at your average order value, if your average order value is $100, what cost per acquisition are you comfortable with?
I gotcha. Let me look at this right now. I believe our average order value is like 50. So then then we should be comfortable theoretically with a 10 cost per conversion, right?
Do you need about a 5x return on your ad spend?
Right.
For every $10 you spend, you need $50 in revenue for that to continue to make sense, roughly.
Right. At $10, which is the number I'm just picking out of the air. I mean, obviously, my answer is I want the lowest cost per conversion possible that will still provide, 5x return. I mean, for us, for our margins, I think like 6x return or higher is what we're shooting for to actually have it be profitable. So then maybe it's more like an $8 cost per conversion based on that average order value. Maybe that's the way to think about it. Am I thinking about that right?
Yeah. So you're going to want to spend probably at least $30 a day to hit that number, because the worst thing that can happen is, like, if you're spending $30 a day and your cost per acquisition is $10 per customer, you barely got your third one. It's 11 a.m. You got your third conversion for the day. You ran out of budget, and the algorithm, now you just are going to have to waste more than 50% of your day waiting for tomorrow to come so you can spend another $30. And the algorithm isn't quite getting enough data to understand what to optimize for. So if your budget is $1,000 for the month, you might consider making your daily budget $60 and just running that for 2 weeks.
And then just to get the algorithm to learn quicker front load it, and then slow
Right.
it, and then spend less per day. That's interesting.
Yeah, and then after 2 weeks, you spent $60 a day, and you've got a pretty good idea of what your average order value from that traffic is, what your cost per conversion, what your margin is on that traffic. And at that point, you say, okay, we're either going to shut this off because we've spent our $1,000 for the month, or no, we'll go find another $1,000 so that we can run it for 2 more weeks because this is looking really good.
I like that approach, because we're with these guys. We're committed to 3 months. Although I say we are, honestly, if there's like no return, like with the Google ads, there it didn't even break even. It wasn't even a 1x return. So if that happens, I'm just gonna shut it off probably. But then she's probably gonna say, well, it's still learning. You need to give it time and spend another couple $1,000s. But it sounds to me that you're saying actually there does need to be a certain amount of data for it to be able to optimize, right?
Right.
And you might even try to speed that up by spending more per day at the front.
Yeah. So there's credence behind what she's saying. You can definitely underspend yourself and not have enough data for the system to really start firing on all cylinders. And by the end of your test, you go, yeah, we spent exactly the same that we got back in revenue, and it doesn't make any sense to keep going.
Right.
And
right.
you can
That's what I'm worried about.
Right.
So are you recommending though that, yeah, kind of do what she says, or are you saying there's credence to it, but still it would be smarter to just not pay for Google to for the pixel to figure out what you kind of already know, at least in some ways?
I like to start with one of those audiences. I like to start with like the hot audience only, and say, of all the different groups between cold, warm, and hot, my most likely conversion is going to come from this hot audience, or maybe for you, the warm audience.
And the hot audience again is that only purchasers?
They've bought from you before. They're already in your system. You're retargeting them and upselling something else.
So this is retargeting and upsell only, which right now we've got like a prospecting ad set and a retargeting ad set. But okay, I'm with you.
Now your retargeting ad set could be hot, or that could be warm. That could be, they've engaged on Facebook, they visited the webpage, they engaged with us on Instagram or something, but they've never paid us any money. I would call that a warm audience.
Okay.
And if you don't think the likelihood of someone upselling is very high, or their average order value is too small to be worth it, you may decide you want to start with the warm audience. But what I lean toward doing is make it work with that audience first, get it profitable, and then you can expand into the cold audience later.
Okay. So you would say just do retargeting first, which I'm watching through Shopify. I've been watching this Facebook ads class when I have time, and that's what he says. Do retargeting first.
Yeah, I would start with the retargeting because you're going to get a higher return on your investment there, which then funds your later exploration into the cold audience, and the cold audience is where you get scale.
Does it matter? So if I've got ads that are working off that retargeting audience, will it look back to people who purchased? Because you mentioned like a 7-day window. I mean, that's only going to be like 3 people. Is it going to look back?
You can build those audiences a few different ways. You can go into Facebook and say, I want to build a dynamic audience of people who have purchased, and you can say, I want a window of 30 days or 60 days or 180 days.
Right.
Or you could take an entire list dump out of Shopify,
which I did. I sent them
upload that as a custom audience into Facebook and say, use this. The downside to that one is it won't change. You'll have to manually go in and update it periodically. Whereas the more dynamic audience, it will just, as people make purchases, it will factor in that new information as it optimizes. But it's going to be a smaller group of people that it's optimizing on, because it's not all of your customers ever.
So a quick question on that then, and I'm sorry, were you wanting to spend time on this? Am I getting off and around?
Yeah. No.
Um,
Whatever
I
you
did
want
give
to.
them all the emails, I think, and the order value. I give them all the emails and the order value of all of our purchasers, which we have a bunch outside Shopify. Actually, a lot of our sales are not in Shopify, and they use that, right? If I just send them just a list of emails and order value, they're somehow able to match that to Facebook accounts or something. Is that what they do?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. So then they have. Okay, so just restating this to myself, they have our list of all of our purchasers. Plus, I gave them a list of everybody who we have emails for. Maybe that would be the warm audience. They didn't buy necessarily, but we have their email. We have that too.
Yep. I put that in the warm audience.
And then they're doing lookalikes and all that. And yeah, I mean, I know what it is. I haven't got in and looked at exactly what they're doing, but they haven't said anything about not starting prospecting until later at all. So you could take just the hot audience, just do the retargeting ads, which they've already built and we have them. And so say that's, I mean, it's like 3,000 people. No, it's not that many. It's like 500 people, 700 people, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough to spend $1,000 a month to go after?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, especially if you're also factoring in the warm audience, and if your retargeting is including hot audience and warm audience, engaged on Facebook, engaged on Instagram, visited our website, that's gonna supplement that number pretty well.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna bring that up with them and see what they say, because Facebook algorithm and all that aside, I don't really care. What I care most about, is ROI. I do want to raise awareness, I do, but given where we are, we have to focus on that first. We just have to.
You want scale in due time, but
and that's where I think it's breaking down a bit. Is she doesn't understand that mentality where, like, I don't care about scale if it's not profitable scale for me. I just don't care. I'd rather spend all my money on a smaller set of people that I know are more likely to buy. That's where I want to spend it. So just make sure I understand, though, if I spend $1,000 a month, I'm not spending to send my ad 8 times to the same people, right? The 700-ish or whatever it is, that's enough people that I'm not going to do that.
You can pay attention. You can watch your frequency in there, and make sure they're not seeing your ads, too many times. Actually, like 4 times is plenty. If they've seen your ads 4 times, then they haven't bought.
Then just
probably pretty low likelihood, unless at some point you have some timely offer that you want to show them. Maybe it's coming up on a Thanksgiving deal or something like that. Then you may want to go back and show fresh ads to that group of people. But generally speaking, I think if you're bumping up against 3, frequency of 3 or 4 or anything above that, it's starting to get a bit wasteful. Your audience should be big enough that that's not happening. One thing you can do to help combat that is to have enough ads, right? Like maybe they've seen something from you 3 times, but they've only seen each of your ads 1 time because you have 3 different ads. And so maybe the one with a picture of a smiling 3-year-old didn't really capture their attention, but their picture of a mom sitting with their 7-year-old going through a book, resonated more with them. So there's a little bit of flexibility in there, but I would say for sure, like if they're seeing the same ad 2 or 3 times and they haven't taken action, then you either need new ads and try to get their attention in a different way, or stop targeting that person.
Gotcha. Okay. That's very helpful. If you have time, if you're interested, you probably still have access. If you're able to get in and look at what they're doing and let me know if you think it's good or not, I would love that, because we're about to hit the switch on these things. And I would love to say, with actual authority from someone who knows this stuff, I think you should do this, I think you shouldn't do this. Because when I talked to her before, I just wasn't really able to, express this point about not wanting to spend now talking to you, I mean, I think I'm going to go back and write an email and say, when it comes to retargeting with our purchasers or the people we have emails for, which would be kind of the warm audience, we can target all of them, of course, because they've already bought. But when it comes to our prospecting ads for cold audiences, I don't see any need to go after men, at least not to any large degree. And they need to be a parent. They need to have kids. I don't want to spend on it otherwise. And see what she says, because I feel like she'll come back with this whole algorithm thing, and then maybe you can help me make sense of that. Because
yeah, I mean, if I'm trying to get people to come run a marathon at a national park, yeah, I could target people who are interested in national parks, but it does me no good if they're not into running.
Right, exactly.
There's a minimum bar, and anyone above that, it's just going to be a wasted spend. And if you know that now, I wouldn't wait for the algorithm to figure that out a week from now. Like, let's build that into the limitations.
Exactly. So I'm going to go back to her because, I mean, there is a chance. I mean, we had 30% men. So, it could be a husband who's sitting there talking to his wife.
Sure.
Could just be a husband for sure. It's just less likely. Or it could be a grandparent. Grandparents are very good for us, actually. I wouldn't want to miss out on that. But where I have limited budget, I'm going to go for who I know is the best customer, and it's that mom with kids.
I wonder how often
kids, they won't buy. They never will buy. Not a single person ever buys if they don't have little kids. So why would we ever target anyone,
I wonder how often this happens. I know that more often than not, if my wife is shopping for something online, she'll put in my name and my email address and my phone number. So it probably looks like a man making the transaction when in reality, I never visited the website or saw the ad or anything like that.
Yep. I said the exact same thing to her. I said, I don't know this, but I would guess that a lot of that is women just using their husband's accounts, because our entire business, our product, our color scheme, our messaging, everything is geared towards that.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was at conventions, I never talked to men ever, unless they were a grandparent, because they never bought. They didn't care.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I'll take some time to go in and take a look at that and see if I see any red flags.
I would love that. I mean, and if there's other stuff, because I'm still sort of I don't know enough yet to be able to sort of tell what they're doing with all the audiences and all that. I'm getting there, and I'm doing this with them so that I can get there, but I'm not quite there yet. And this stuff well. So if you see something that's a red flag, that would be, and even if you have thoughts on the ad copy and whatnot,
sure.
If you don't have time, it's understandable, but
yeah, I'll give it a shot. Yeah, and I'll look at it from that perspective that we talked about earlier. Like, can you appeal to emotion first, and then logic, and then some call to action, fear of missing out. If you can build in some urgency or scarcity into that call to action, otherwise people just say, "Yeah, I'll think about it," and then obviously never come back and pull the trigger.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Brett, it's always good to talk with you. We should talk again in another couple of weeks and see where things are at.
I would love to, especially since we're about to launch these ads. So I do appreciate the time.
All right. Good talking with you. Have a good afternoon.
All right, man. You too.
See ya.
See ya.